My Penn State Indiana post game recap. So Penn State squeezed out a win today, 45-31, and don't let the score tell you that it was a pretty easy win for Penn State, because it wasn't. Um, this was a game until Indiana's basically last offensive play. Um, for the first half, it looked like Penn State was not even looked like they were the offense that they were last year. Got 7 points on the opening drive, looked good. Then they got nothing in the rest of the half. Basically, they got a touchdown. They punted it. They muffed the punt at the 5 yard line. Penn State next play got it in. That's not a touchdown for the offense. That's like a just they give you 7 points basically. So really, they only got 7 offensive points, but they 14. Indiana comes out, gets 10 points to make it 24-14. Penn State makes two big deep catches in both drives that end up at touchdowns um, later on in the drives, and then Penn State took the lead 28-24. All looks pretty good. Penn State has the momentum. Indiana converts on a big third down, and they get the lead 31-28, and and they got the lead, and it didn't look that good for Penn State. Penn State gets the ball back around the 40-yard line, comes down, gets touchdown, not much time left, and then they give it back to Indiana. Indiana goes for it on fourth down. They're down 35-31. They don't make it. Penn State runs the ball three times. But right around a minute left, Penn State kicks the field goal 38-31. Then Indiana on a 3rd and 10, they get a pass out to the 25. Then they get stripped. It fumbles the ball. Penn State picks it up and they run it in for 40 to make it the score of 45-31. So really, it really wasn't that big of a win for Penn State, margin wise. Really, even though it was, um, it really shouldn't have been that big of a win. Um, they did a great job against Barkley, and I think that they realized early on in the week, especially when they look at the Iowa film, where they go, if we can stop Barkley, we have a shot to win this game. Because if you don't stop Barkley, I don't think you can beat Penn State unless you're one of the nation's top teams, and Indiana isn't. So I think you have to really stop Barkley, just stack him in there, blitz him, put tons of pressure on him, and make him go nowhere. Because with this offensive line that's got two of its starters out and a third string guy in now, I don't know if they could handle all that pressure, and they didn't handle all that pressure. They had to go to the pass. McSorley threw for 332 yards. He did a good job with that. And this week, Godwin, Hamilton, Gesicki carried us to victory. It wasn't Barkley, even though he did get 2 rushing touchdowns. It wasn't him who won the game for us. He still got 60 yards, which you go, oh, that's not bad. What did he have, like 20 carries? So he's averaging 3 a carry? No, he had 30. So he's averaging 2 yards a carry. That's not good. And a lot of them he went backwards on that killed drives. He just couldn't get holes all day. And I think once it was 24-14, James Franklin had to make the decision that Barkley wasn't going to be getting the ball as much, and they couldn't just find him through the holes. They were going to have to pass this ball deep and try to win the game that way, and it worked out. And if Indiana had a better passing defense, Penn State would be sitting at 7-3 right now, because they would have been screwed. They made Penn State pass to win the game, which was smart, but then you're Indiana and you have one of the worst secondaries in the Big Ten, so maybe you're creating problems that you really can't prevent. So it's either one thing, and I think the way they planned it was better for them, and I think it made it a game. And this Indiana team has improved. This is the best Indiana team I've seen in a long time, I think, mainly because Indiana is usually not that good. But I think if they can get a win against Purdue, they'll be looking at a second bowl. And I think this Indiana team's improved from last year, where, when you look at last year's schedule for Indiana, they kind of got to a bowl, but it's kind of just because that they kind of showed up and they played their games. Because now there's 4 conference games. no, there were 4 conference games last year. Now there's 3. 3 non-conference games this year, and only 4. There were 4 last year. Where last year they beat a bad Wake Forest team. They won their other 3 non-conference games barely. They almost lost to Southern Illinois and Western Kentucky. They almost beat Ohio State. They get murdered by Penn State. They lose to freaking Rutgers. Get murdered by Michigan State. Hang with Iowa. They almost beat Michigan. This Indiana team played pretty well last year, but they lost their star QB and their star running back. So for them to have another 6-6 year, I didn't think was going to happen, and they're playing good ball right now, and I think they're well on their way to another 6-win year. And I think that Kevin Wilson finally starting to bring in his team and his players, and I think it's starting to work for him. Where every year he's getting better. 2014 he was 4-8. 2013 he was 5-7. 2012 4-8, and 2011 his first year he was 1-11, and he was taking over a freaking nightmare. So I think every year he's getting better, and this Indiana team is looking like they're heading in the right direction. But back to Penn State, it was a good win for Penn State to get their 8th win, the first time under Franklin, and the first time they're going to be getting 8 wins since 2012. And I know that was a big mark for them to try to get 8 wins this year, which is a step up. And hopefully this team can get to 10 wins now. And it looks like their probability is going up week in week because I think Iowa and Indiana were their toughest teams, but you got to watch out for Michigan State and Rutgers because even though Rutgers is winless, they will fight, and Michigan State depends what team shows up. If it's a team that's going to hang with Michigan, we might have a game. If it's a team that lost to Maryland by 11 and the team that lost to Illinois, then I think Penn State should be able to get a pretty easy win. Same thing with Rutgers, but if Penn State can take it week by week for the next 2, I think they can be looking at a good 10-2 season. So, that's a wrap for this video, and I think adios. I mean, it's 8-2, so gotta be happy. Peace out.